The Great American Read just shared with us some of your favorite books about heroes. Well, you know what? That's not all the books out there about heroes. We want to dig deeper. We want to find out what stories make you feel heroic. Which ones inspire you to be a hero in your own world? Well, right now, we're going to find out on our own book club, Cover to Cover. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse, and welcome to Cover, our own book club sharing with you even more books and some fun thoughts about reading. Today, we're attacking heroes, because they can fight us back. But I can't do it alone. I need your help and your ideas. You can do that on Twitter at #Cover2Cover. Share your thoughts on heroes, heroic stories, your favorite characters that are heroes. I've got some favorite characters with me right here, and I'm going to introduce them to you now. You may know her as C.C. Hunter, the New York Times best-selling author of the series Shadow Falls. But we know her as Christy Craig. Hello, Christy.
Hello. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing well.
Good.
And you know I'm going to do even better when I introduce my next guest. She's a philanthropist and happens to be a Houston Public Media Foundation board member, Leslie Flynn. Hello, Leslie.
Hi, Ernie.
Good to have you here.
Thanks.
Joining her also is a former Student Government Association president at TSU, Terrence Bolton. Hello, Terrence.
Hi, Ernie. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I'm really excited because I'm going to wrap all this up with a true hero. He gained national attention by visiting the victims of the Harvey flood at the George R. Brown Convention Center, bringing them hope and joy. It's a true hero, the Houston Spider.
Ernie,
hello
pleasure
there.
to see you. Good to be here with you today.
We couldn't think of a better hero to have on a show about heroes.
Well, they already have you, so I mean, why am I here? I don't understand.
Oh, I like him already.
You're enough as it is.
Good.
Okay, so let's start with, we all tend to like the bad guy, the villain. They're fun, they're over the top. What is it that makes a hero so fun and that we root for the hero? I'll start over here.
I think that a hero, they're not flawless, first of all. People don't like perfect people. So you have to have a hero that has a flaw, and you have to have some, not necessarily an extraordinary person, but an ordinary person who comes up against an extraordinary feat.
Leslie?
Absolutely, because I can relate to that, being deeply flawed myself and holding hope that I too may be someone's hero or do some act that is heroic.
Terrence, is that part of it? Villains probably tried to be perfect and they're so slick. The hero's got the flaw.
And the bad part about that is the hero has to accept this responsibility of saving the day. You know, you always want to make sure that you have that one person who is flawed, who has some sort of sensibility that I may not want to do this, why me? But they shoulder up to the responsibility and they end up becoming that pivotal individual that saves the day.
Okay, Spider, why don't we get bored with that? Why don't we think, oh, a hero?
I think the main thing that you're looking at too is that a hero has to acknowledge that they have the flaws and then overcome them. The villain never acknowledges their flaws, and that's the reason they're destined to fail.
Now, can we have a hero without a villain?
A hero is only as good as their villain.
That's true. Opposites attract.
A hero has to be, a villain has to be as good as their hero, and the hero has to be a little bit better, but the reader or the viewer has to question that. That's what keeps them turning pages.
Okay, writing. When you want to write a heroic character or heroine,
Right.
what are you looking for? How much is thought out before it goes on the page, and how much develops as you move through it?
I think I'm a pantser, which means I write by the seat of my pants. I do
I'm
not
like,
plot.
is that a zodiac sign? I don't know.
It's the new one.
The new one, Pantsers.
Isn't that a type of
Panzer.
tank? A panzer, possibly? I'm not sure.
She's a bull. She's a tank when she goes
That's
in there.
it. So I kind of feel like you put them up against some odd, and you watch what they do.
Do you always know what they're going to do, or do you find it when you're writing?
No, I figure it out. I tell a story when I'm sitting at my computer, and if I've already told that story with an outline, I'm bored.
And you know, sometimes I seriously believe in real life, heroes don't know at the time they're doing it that they're doing a heroic act. It is the course of action that they take because it seems to them it's the only course.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily let me do this heroic act.
So why does one want to be a hero? You take on the persona of a hero all the time. What is it about that it draws you to it?
The appeal of it to me is seeing the changes that you can make and the impacts that you can have on just a person's day, a day-to-day simple act of showing up and being something different that they're not used to seeing, but they associate that image with a hero. And it just makes people happy. And to me, that's a really core thing in what I do and what I think a lot of other people who do these heroic acts, we're looking for happiness and looking to spread that joy.
But do you think that every heroic act is known at the time that it's heroic?
Oh, absolutely
no,
not.
not at all.
Absolutely
Not
not.
at all.
Like even,
No, half the people don't know all of the heroic things that Terrence has done.
Seriously though, I mean, I have saved countless individuals from not graduating, from not being kicked out of school. You know, it's something that it's a gratification, if you will, because you're helping someone else in their day, their life, and it has nothing to do with you, your personal growth, but the things that you do for that individual, it helps them to grow. It makes them see that there's still good in the world. And I think that's why the hero should be looked at just as, not another villains are fun. But I do think that the hero should have just as much clout as the villain does.
When we talk about heroes, and I kind of set this off by talking immediately with villains, but to be a hero, do you have to be up against negative odds? Does it have to be something bad or evil in your world, or can someone just be heroic, a good character, without that to fight against?
I think you can be just a regular, ordinary person confronting some feat. I don't think a hero sets out to be a hero. Most of us don't. Spider-Man, with exception, of course. But I think it's those small things that we choose and make a difference. Another thing I think is amazing about heroes is that people think heroes are all courageous. But the thing is that heroes are not so much courageous as they have fears, but they go ahead and act on the right thing.
Yeah.
They're afraid. Yeah. So I think a hero is still afraid. That's why good heroes we relate to are those that are facing their own fear, and that's what gives us hope and courage when you read one. It's like,
okay, let me spin this around then. Have you come across individually, on your own point of view, characters that you have been told that you know are supposed to be heroic, and it just doesn't resonate with you? Are there characters you think, everyone says this is a hero, but I just don't get it?
Van Helsing is one.
Van Helsing?
I mean, I love that story because, of course, I like vampires and werewolves and all of that, you know, the folklore. But in seeing the way that it was brought to the books and brought to the silver screen, some people looked at him as a murderer rather than a hero. But if you knew what he had to do to keep regular society as is, oh, my hero, thank you so much. But see, that's the thing. Heroes have a tendency to not be understood sometimes. And they don't realize in their heroic actions, they will be misunderstood often. And I believe in that.
So in literature, where are the most successful heroes? Who are some of the best heroes from literature, do you think?
Oh, Scarlett O'Hara.
Oh, Scarlett O'Hara?
Yeah, now some people would say she's the villain, right?
Right.
But she, in my mind, was a hero because she never gave up. And in spite of all odds, there was always tomorrow, right? And I look at people who are relentless in their pursuit of whatever their dream is or whatever they're after as being the real element of courage, because this world and all worlds before us, and probably all worlds in the future, are working against you, conspiring against you from a variety of ways. And heroes just never give up, and they may only have small opportunities that they make the most of.
Yeah. Okay, Spider-Man.
Well, one of my favorite books also is The Portrait of Dorian Gray. So in that, you follow Dorian, right? And he's this beacon of innocence. And then as he realizes he has this power of beauty and he becomes immortal, essentially, he deviates from that path. So he's not a hero in the sense that he doesn't actually save anybody or do anything heroic, but he does take us on this journey that teaches us a lesson of what not to be and how to actually act with our fellow humans. And at the end of the book, he does come back around and he realizes everything he's been doing wasn't exactly the correct path to be on. But I think the journey that Dorian took us on was very important and taught us a lesson. And being a hero means taking lumps so that other people don't have to.
Oh, interesting take.
I like that. My goodness.
So now we want to know, what are some people's favorite books, favorite heroic characters? Remember, we're interested in yours too. Hashtag cover to cover. Share your thoughts and ideas about heroes. But Christy, would you like to start with what is your favorite book involving a hero?
I will. My favorite book is Charlotte's Web.
Good
And
pick.
my
I like
heroine is Charlotte, and I hope you met heroes and heroines.
Yes.
So Charlotte is a black spider, and Charlotte is, in my definition, a hero because she has a big flaw. She's an ordinary black spider, but of course spiders trap and eat bugs and mosquitoes. So she is facing some difficult, right away people don't like her. And in this book I found one special passage, and it basically, a hero can be someone no more than a friend. And why do you do all this for me? Wilbur asked. I don't deserve it. I've never done anything for you. You have been my friend, replied Charlotte. That in itself is a tremendous thing. I wrote my webs for you because I liked you. After all, what's a life anyway? We're born, we live a little while, we die. With all this trappings and eating flies, by helping you, perhaps I was trying to lift up my life a trifle. Heaven knows anyone's life can stand a little of that.
So why that passage?
Well, because it shows she's doing it for a friend. She's doing it for no other reason than to help someone else out. And in the book, it shows her bringing people together. She's a leader. She brings all these barn animals together for one purpose. And it also shows, I mean, she went to the auction and the award ceremony when she was weak, about to die. And it shows someone making just a decision for somebody else, putting someone else above themselves. This was the first book I ever read.
I was going to ask, when did that book come into your life?
It was the first book I ever read. I'm dyslexic, so I didn't actually start reading till probably in the 3rd or 4th grade. And this was the first one. It took me over 2 months to read this book. But I fell in love with Charlotte and Wilbur. I was certain they were in love. You're never going to convince me of anything else. But it just, to me, it made me fall in love. And I'm scared to death of spiders.
All
So
right.
it made me fall in love.
Well, thank you for that one. Leslie, what is your book of choice?
Well, my book of choice is an easy book of choice because it's To Kill a Mockingbird. And like all my favorite books, it deals with what I believe is an element of kindness. I think that our greatest gift back to humanity is being kind in any circumstance. And today it's oftentimes very hard to be kind in a world that gives us so much input and yet doesn't give us enough. And I think that in all the input, we don't always see the human. We see the sensationalized news that sells newspapers or calls people to television. And my favorite line from this is really at the very end of the book, but it is what I believe runs through the book. And it is when Atticus is comforting Scout as she is falling asleep, and she says to Atticus, Atticus, he was real nice. And Atticus says, most people are nice, Scott, when you finally see them.
Ooh.
And I think that, for me, is what books are all about. You know, I live in a small world, I have small exposure, and books give you great exposure, and exposure to people you wouldn't ordinarily encounter, and it gives you that precious opportunity to be in their shoes and see that there's many opinions in life that you don't have to be afraid of. You just have to know the people who you may not know in your real life, and you need to be kind to them. You need to be understanding.
Question, just curious, when did you come to Kill a Mockingbird?
Okay, so I was in Montgomery, Alabama. I think I was supposed to read it in high school, but indeed I probably read the Cliff Notes and maybe some other thing. Right?
Uh-oh.
Plus, I also think if you saw the movie, that counts too, right?
Thank you.
Anyway, so someone told me that I should read a trilogy. And that trilogy was that I should read Uncle Tom's Cabin, To Kill a Mockingbird, and The Help, to better understand race relations in America and how far they have come, or perhaps how far they haven't. And it was a fabulous, fabulous fall in and just languish in what was extraordinary books and extraordinary opportunities.
Well, I think whoever recommended that reading list should be a hero too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, what's your pick for us?
First, I want to start with, you shouldn't be afraid of spiders. We're not.
I didn't get that connection.
We're not all that bad.
Yes.
We're not all that bad. Me and Charlotte, we're cut from the same web.
Okay, I'm going to give you a chance.
So
Now that we've gotten that out of the way.
Not buying it.
Just want to make sure. The book that I brought is The Little Prince. This book, it came to me late in my life. It was recommended by a friend. This book, to me, speaks like we've spoken about most of this time, the humanity of, just humanity in general, and how people are and how people miss the things that are truly important in life. And there are so many, even when I was asked to do this, I've already marked up my book tremendously with different beautiful quotes and different things that they've said throughout this. And I actually, the quote or the passage that I'm going to read to you now, I plan to be a part of my wedding vows one day.
And who is Spider-Man marrying?
That's how big this is. That's how big this is.
Or Mary Jane.
Or Mary Jane.
So at this
We're
moment,
trying to figure out who you're going to marry. That's what's going on.
everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know. So this is a moment in the book where the little prince is speaking with the fox, and the fox is teaching him about friendship and about how to gain a personal connection with someone. For me, you're only a little boy like 100,000 other little boys, and I have no need of you, and you have no need of me either. For you, I'm only a fox like 100,000 other foxes, but if you tame me, we'll need each other. You'll be the only boy in the world for me, and I'll be the only fox in the world for you. And yeah, it's just a beautiful passage about putting in the work with someone to get to know someone better, and how even though a person is just a person, the more you get to know them, they become your person.
Excuse me, I have to reschedule you for the love story show. We'll go over there. Beautiful. Thank you, Spider. And that leaves you, Terrence, for our final book.
Okay, so it's funny that Leslie said that, you should read the trilogy because it's very true. My book of choice is The Help. The reason that I picked that book is because it grabbed me at such a young age in my early 30s. But anyway, and what it did, it gave me the ability to not only validate some of the stories that I heard when I was growing up, but to see firsthand. I love the written word, but I also love seeing it put on film so that I can get a visualization of what I've been reading. And we all know that race relations were something, and definitely is something that is, happening to the country. It's been happening to the country since it became a country itself. So I picked this book based on the way that it empowered me to understand the strength of not only the Caucasian woman, but the African-American woman, because of the fact Skeeter and Aibileen and all of the maids got together to make this book. And the book gave some insight as to what they dealt with on a day-to-day basis. And all the stories were not bad. Some of them were good. Some of them were horrifying. Some of them were even worse. But the passage that I selected is what I look at as my inciting incident that got everything rolling. Told from the point of Aibileen talking to Skeeter, Eugenia Phelan. I want to interview you about what it's like to work as a maid. A red ball roll a few feet in front of my yard. The little Jones boy run across the street to get it. When he sees Miss Skeeter, he stopped dead. Then he run and snatch it up. He turn and dash off like he's scared she gonna get him. Miss Myrna, like the Miss Myrna column? I say flat as a pan. About cleaning? Not like Miss Myrna. I'm talking about a book, she says, and her eyes are so big, she's excited. Stories about what it's like to work for a white family, what it's like to work for, say, Elizabeth. It's a trigger. It's a trigger for me.
I can tell.
It's a trigger because back in those times, it was really difficult to get those. As a matter of fact, it was hard to get those kinds of stories out as to what people dealt with when it came down to race relations. But this book also should show people, everybody of every single ethnicity, not everybody is bad. And that's the heroism in it for me, or the heroinism for them. I see that they worked together for a common good, and the common good was to get the story out, to make those things like known to people. Look, she's getting excited. Look at her.
Right. And when Abilene is speaking to little May Mobley.
Oh, I love that.
And empowering her.
Every single morning she empowers her with those words. Please,
She
please.
just grabbed her book.
Please.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
Yes, God.
It's time. You've heard of HQ. It's time to do LQ. We're going to find about our literary quotient right now. So we've handed out to our panel their little dry erase board. Oh, he even put his name at the top. I like that.
no.
Here we go. First question. This has to do with the girl with the dragon tattoo. In which country is that story set? Is it in Norway, Finland, Denmark, or Sweden?
I'm gonna cheat.
Oh, she's cheating over
cheating
here.
already.
All right, are you guys ready to reveal?
Yeah.
Here we go. What do we have? Sweden, Sweden, Denmark, Sweden. 3 have it, 1 doesn't.
I really
read
did
the
think
book
it was.
and saw both versions of the movie.
That was a long time ago.
Well, it was a little tough. We did all those little Nordic countries together. Okay, next one. In George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, you know, Game of Thrones, Arya Stark was born and raised where? King's Landing, Winterfell, River Run, The Vale. Would you hold on a second, Spidey? A, King's Landing, B, Winterfell, C, River Run, D, The Vale. And reveal. Winterfell, River Run, King's Oh, that's a G. I thought it was King's Landing.
Wait a minute.
Only one of you has it right. Who do you think
And
it
it-
is?
Probably Spidey.
Spidey.
How the tables have turned.
Spidey got it. He's back in the lead. Well, he's back tied, I
I was
guess.
about to say he's tied.
He's tied. He's tied. One for everyone. Okay.
This is like a geography class.
All right, well, this one isn't. The James Bond movies are based on a series of novels by what British author? Is it Ian Fleming, Ian Gold, Peter Finch, Peter James? I'm waiting for Spidey to get his written. We must realize Spidey has limited vision. And the answer is Ian Fleming. Yeah, I got that one right.
Yay.
So my last one, which is where I have to quote a book. So here we go. Let's see if I can get this one out right. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11th birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in where? Hobbiton, Hogswort, Hogsmeade, Mordor.
What's the first one again?
Hobbiton. Okay, let's see. What do we have? We have Hogwarts, Hobbiton.
Hogwarts.
Half of you have it right and half of you have it wrong.
Oh.
Okay.
There you go.
You guys have it right.
I went to Hobbit Land.
And the thing that I have right is the time, and the time tells me we're out of it. So I do want to thank our panel. I want to thank Terrence and Christy for being with us. I want to thank Leslie and the Houston Spider. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, the Great American Read is going to tackle monsters and villains. And we're going to tackle the same thing right here on our show right after with Ivo Gambino, and the Houston Poet Laureate is going to be here with us. So both of them will be joining us, plus others. We hope that you'll keep watching, that you'll tune in. And don't forget, if you haven't voted for your favorite book, you can do it at pbs.org or at your local PBS station. We want to see what America is reading. So on behalf of everybody here, remember, keep in touch with us, #cover to cover. I'm Ernie Manouse. Thanks to the Houston Public Library for housing us, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.